Welcome back to Rupert Reads. Today we are going to continue The Adventures of Buster Bear by Thornton W. Burgess. Chapter 8, Farmer Brown's Boy Feels His Hair Rise. 'Twas just a sudden odd surprise made Farmer Brown's boy's hair to rise. That's a funny thing for hair to do, rise up all of a sudden, isn't it? But that is just what the hair on Farmer Brown's boy's head did that day when he was fishing in the Laughing Brook and had no luck at all. There are two things that can make the hair rise: anger and fear. Anger sometimes makes the hair on the back of Buster the Hound and some of other little people bristle and stand up. And you know, the hair on the tail of Black Pussy stands up on end until her tail looks twice as big as it really is. Both in anger and fear make it do that. But there's only one thing that can make the hair on the head of Farmer Brown's boy rise, and it isn't anger. Of course, it must be fear. It never happened before. You see, there isn't much of anything that Farmer Brown's boy is really afraid of. Perhaps he wouldn't have been afraid this time if it hadn't been for the surprise of what he found. You see, when he had found that the heads of those trouts on the bank, he knew right away that something else had been fishing, and that was why he couldn't catch any. But it didn't seem possible that little Billy Mink could have eaten all those trout. And Farmer Brown's boy didn't think once of Little Joe Otter, and he was so very, very much puzzled. He was turning it all over in his mind, and studying what it could mean, when he came out of a little muddy place on the bank of the Laughing Brook, and there he saw something that made his eyes look as if they were going to pop right out of his head. And it was right then that he felt his hair rise. Anyway, that is what he said when he told about it afterwards. What was it he saw? What do you think? Why, it was a footprint in the soft mud. Yes, sir. That's what it was, and all it was. But it was the biggest footprint Farmer Brown's boy had ever seen, and it looked as if it had been made only a few minutes before. It was a footprint of Buster Bear. Now, Farmer Brown's boy didn't know that Buster Bear had come down to the Green Forest to live. He never heard of a bear being in the Green Forest, and so he was so surprised that he had hard work to believe his own eyes. And he had a queer feeling all over, a little chilly feeling, although it was a warm day. Somehow, he didn't feel like meeting Buster Bear. If he had had his terrible gun with him, it might have been different, but he didn't. And so he suddenly made up his mind that he didn't want to go fishing any more that day. He had a funny feeling, too, that he was being watched, although he couldn't see anyone. He was being watched. Little Joe Otter and Buster Bear were watching him and taking the greatest care to keep out of sight. All the way home through the Green Forest, Farmer Brown's boy kept looking behind him, and he didn't draw a long breath until he reached the edge of the Green Forest. He hadn't run, but he had wanted to.
"Huh,"
said Buster Bear to Little Joe Otter.
"I believe he was afraid."
And Buster Bear was just exactly right. That's the end of this chapter. If you liked what you heard, please comment, like, and subscribe. And if this is the first chapter you're hearing, you're always welcome to go back to chapter 1. Thank you.